We're back from the combine, and that means it's time for more mock drafts. We're to number 2 with the Cleveland Browns. No pick felt more locked in stone than this one. Quarterbacks have separated. There's one that's clearly above the rest, and Cleveland seems to be in love with him. I'm Jeremy Green of NFLDraft.net and ESPN Radio Asheville, and this is a 3-round mock draft for the Cleveland Browns.
Ain't no truth on the radio station. Somebody owes me an explanation. Well, I get knocked down, I get back up.
The Sportsocracy.
And I'm unapologetic.
Cleveland's locked in on taking a quarterback. Adam Schefter said it. Everyone I talked to at the combine said it. And if you're taking a quarterback in this draft and you want to feel any kind of way good about it, it has to be Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. Look, this kid's been successful everywhere he's been. I think he can make all of the throws. I don't necessarily think he has the highest upside I've ever seen. If I were ranking quarterbacks over the last handful of years, I would have had C.J. Stroud ahead of him. I would have had Bryce Young ahead of him. I would have had at least 2 of the guys from last year. I would have had Jaden and Drake May ahead of him. He would be right about where I had Caleb Williams. I just wasn't as high on Caleb Williams. But I think his floor is much safer. I don't see any bust here. He's absolutely one of the most accurate guys that I've ever seen when his feet are set. He can work off script. He's mobile enough. The thing that scares me about him going to Cleveland is I think he's going to be asked to produce right away behind an offensive line that's not very good. But if you were going to do this and you're going to take a quarterback at 2, there's no doubt that Cleveland is going quarterback at 2. This is the one it has to be. He's so far ahead of Shedeur Sanders that it's pathetic. And I think he's the best quarterback in this class. You take him and you deal with Deshaun Watson a year from now. It's the best I got. It's not ideal, but I think it's the best you have. Then you come up in the second round at pick number 33, and this kid is a fucking house. But I think he can come in and play left tackle right away. It's Aireontae Ersery, offensive tackle from Minnesota. This kid is gigantic. 6'6", 330 pounds, and then he came to the combine and ran well, which I did not expect in any way. I thought he was going to throw up one of those 5.7 times that just make you go, all right, that's a 3rd-round pick. He didn't. And then I went back and watched the tape. In a class where a lot of the linemen seem to be shading to guard, most teams in the NFL think Will Campbell's a guard. A lot of teams think Kelvin Banks is a guard. Gray Zabel can't play left tackle. Josh Simmons is long gone by this time. This is the best you can do in the second round. It's also a pretty high-value pick because I think he's consistent with the Minnesota linemen that have come out of the last few years. Yes, he is gigantic. He's very big. He moves better than Faalele. He moves better than some of the other players I've seen come out of this Minnesota program. And he's got a high upside that's really intriguing to me. He could be a better run blocker. It's not that I don't think he can do it. His technique lacks sometimes. A good offensive line coach could work with this kid, and in half a season, he's going to look like a completely different player. He leans a lot, but you see that out of bigger guys. If anybody knows this, it would be Cleveland with DeJuan Jones. When you have guys that are this big, they've always been bigger than who they go up against, so the technique starts to lack. This way you can push DeJuan Jones back to the bench, which is where he belongs. Jack Conklin's on the right side, and if anything were to happen to either one, you've still got DeJuan Jones. Here at 33, I go Aireontae Ersery. The tape in 2023 is what gets him drafted here. Last year wasn't as good. Quarterback play wasn't as good, but don't let that fool you. This kid's still a top 40 pick. Next with Cleveland, we have a lot of needs, and I've got 2 picks in the 3rd round. I'm going to take a value. I do believe Myles Garrett gets dealt. I do not have that in this mock draft, but I do think he gets dealt. And there's a player that you should be pretty familiar with. I just can't figure out where he goes. I also can't say his name for shit. JT Tuimoloau. I have literally searched that and sat here and done it for 10 minutes, and I still can't say it. JTT from Ohio State. I don't know that he's ever going to be a great pass rusher. I think he can be a serviceable pass rusher. That's weird to say out of a guy that had 15 sacks in one of the biggest conferences in America. But this kid did. He's a much better run defender. He is a ready-made replacement today to play in the NFL. I just don't know that he has that super high upside. I like Sawyer, his teammate, better. I like a lot of those guys that go in that fringe second round. And so I just keep finding myself when I do these mocks, he gets pushed down, not because he's not good, because he's so damn safe. The upside is what scares me. He was unbelievable against Tennessee. 12% pass rush win rate, 87.3 run defense grade. He comes in and starts right away. And for Cleveland, that's what you need. If you move Myles Garrett, you need a player that can start right away. I can find a pass rusher, be it in free agency. There are a lot of them. Situational guys. Early on, I think you need a situational guy to stack with him. Not on every down, just the very obvious passing downs. And I'm not going to lie to you, I think he's good enough that you can even pass it and push him inside on obvious pass rushing downs. Ohio State did it. If you go back and watch, in the most obvious pass rushing situations, they would push JTT to the inside and turn into like a NASCAR package. I love the kid. I just can't figure out where he goes. Right here at pick number, I believe it's 67, JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. One pick left in this, and I've wanted to get this position. I just didn't have a guy that totally made sense. He falls because he didn't run at the combine, and this class is just so damn good. It's running back Cam Skattebo from Arizona State. If you're talking grades, there are very few guys in this class that grade even in the ballpark of him. Second most missed tackles forced in all of college football, only to Ashton Genty. Tied for 15th in most 15-plus yard runs, and he's third in yards after contact. He's small, he's squatty, he's strong. I don't think he's super straight line fast, so you're going to want somebody to complement him. I think Cleveland brings back Nick Chubb on a one-year deal. Everything I heard, and his agent was at the combine, he wants to play for another year. Him and Cam Skattebo, I would love the idea of Skattebo learning from Nick Chubb because I think he could help him a lot. Don't forget, Chubb fell for some of the same risk factors with him and the injury history. Skattebo doesn't have that. And you go back to the Sacramento State tape, it was a man amongst boys. I don't put much into that. I was in the building when Arizona State played Texas in the Peach Bowl. And I'm not going to lie to you. Everybody with me kept saying, Skattebo doesn't look good. Give it a minute. He's getting better as time goes on. As he gets in rhythm, as he gets hit, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And then it did. And at the end of that game, he was the best player on the field on either side. Right here in the late third round, pick number 94, Cam Skattebo, running back out of Arizona State. If you like these picks for the Cleveland Browns, if you hate these picks, if you just want to tell me who you think Cleveland should draft, I'm doing this the entire draft season long. I've been with the Washington Commanders, a handful of other teams. You can find me on podcasts all over the place. I love the draft. It's what I do. I've got 329 guys on my board right now because I need a life. But if you have questions about any of them with the Cleveland Browns, feel free to put those in the chat. If you like this video, like this video. It helps us more than we could ever say. And subscribe to the channel. The next set of mock drafts will come out after free agency. Not when it's done, just the week after that first 4-day rush of where I have seen what you take, and then I have better ideas. These are the guys that I know teams like. I know they fit what they're looking for. It's more an educated guess than it is anything. Once free agency happens, it gets a lot more narrowed down. And we'll have a set of 4-round mocks the week after free agency starts. I appreciate you checking this out. Anytime you like things, anytime you subscribe to things, it means the world to me. This is a pet project for me. It's completely different from the day job. And I love the day job too. I'm Jeremy Green of ESPN Radio Asheville and NFLDraft.net. And this has been a 3-round mock draft for the Cleveland Browns.
Ain't no truth on the radio station. Somebody owes me an explanation. Well, I get knocked down, I get back up.
The Sportsocracy